Hello, welcome to More Faith with Kisha. My first name is Kisha and my last name is Moore. And on this channel, we talk all things, most things, faith. I love to give my faith testimonies to motivate, inspire, and to encourage you to keep the faith in your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, and most importantly, to keep your faith in God in the name of Jesus. So today, I want to talk about giving and tithing. Like, do I personally, Kisha, do I still believe in tithing? Do I still believe in giving, giving to the man of God, sowing seeds, helping those who are less fortunate, giving it to the church? Even after everything that I've seen within some churches and some ministries, because not all, with the manipulation of the $1,000 seed. And if you want to be blessed, give into my life, I don't believe in all of that. I don't think that all that's of God, but I still believe in tithing because I believe in honoring God with what he gives me. So let me give you a perfect example. And this is my testimony, my personal testimony of how God has come through in my life for continuously giving and continuously tithing from my heart, not because I felt compulsed, because a man of God told me to do it. The direct relationship with me and the Lord. This is my testimony, right? So I was living in Dallas, Texas. I'm from California. I moved to Dallas just because God told me to move there. That's another testimony. I have some other videos, but I moved there. I didn't have a job. I didn't know anyone. I had very little income. I think I only had like $700 or $800 when I moved to Dallas. My last disability check, I used it to pay my rent for 2 months, and all I had left was $700 or $800. So I ended up getting a job at a car dealership, and everything was going good at first. I was making money the first few months, and then everything quickly went downhill. So I ended up leaving that car dealership and going to another car dealership, and the pay was significantly less. So it was 1 month where I didn't have enough money to pay my rent, just to be transparent. And yes, I had still been tithing and giving, but I didn't have enough money to pay my rent. Now, in the past, when I was faced with a financial struggle or situation and I couldn't pay my bills, I would not tithe. I would be like, well, you know what? I need to pay my bills. Forget this. Like, I'll tithe next time. God understands. God knows my heart. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. When people be like, God knows my heart, I would resort back to doing that. But I remember a long time ago, one time I didn't tithe. The money I did not tithe was stolen out of my account. So after that, I saw like a connection. I was like, you know what? I'm going to continuously tithe no matter what the struggle is, no matter what I'm going through. So when I was living in Dallas and I couldn't pay my rent, the exact amount of money that I needed to pay my rent was my tithe. And I didn't have anyone to give me anything. I didn't have anyone to borrow money from. I didn't know what I was going to do. And it was a struggle. It was a tuggle. Like, do I tithe or do I pay all of my rent? Do I tithe or do I pay all of my rent? And I contemplated that for a few days just to be transparent. I was thinking of going back to my old ways. Well, I don't have enough. God knows my heart. So I'm just going to pay my bills and that's just going to be it. But I thought about every time in my life when I was faced with a financial difficulty or a struggle, and I decided to do things God's way. Like, he always blessed me. He always opened doors. He always increased my finances. I believe God is faithful when you give from your heart and the way that he, instructs you to do it according to his word, tithing and offering. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna test God on this and see if he will not open the floodgates of heaven and pour me out a blessing so much I don't have room. I'm going to test God on this and see if he will rebuke the devourer on my behalf, which is in the book of Malachi, because I am choosing to give God the first 10% of my income. So, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to get an eviction. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I took the tithe and I gave it to the Lord, which was to a church that I was watching online. I just did it online, right? And so I paid what I had left rent. And I went down to the management office and I was just very honest and transparent. Like, I didn't lie. I didn't say, I'm going to have it next week. I'm going to do. I was just very transparent. Like, hey, I just moved here. I just started this new job. I'm not making enough money. I don't have enough money to pay my rent, and I don't know when I'm going to have it, but I'm looking for other income, ways to make other money. I mean, other income and ways to make, more money. And I don't know like what's going to happen, but this is all I have. And the management, she was very understanding, and she told me, she was like, don't worry about it. She was like, you can just make payments on the rest. Like, when do you get paid? I was like, I get paid every week. She was just paid. She told me just to pay like a little bit extra every week. And so I chose to do that. I chose to honor God with my income by tithing. So one day I was driving on my way to work at the car dealership. I didn't really like the job. I wasn't making enough money, but I had to have some kind of income coming in. I was driving, and I remember I was praying, and I was very specific with God about what it is that I need, what it is that I desire as far as income, and the type of job that I want. I was very, very specific, and I requested and prayed for an income to be 3 times the amount of what I was making at the car dealership. And this was like the week after I gave my tithe and I didn't have enough money to pay my rent. So it was just like a moment with God, and I was just very, very honest and transparent. So when I get to the car dealership, I park, I get out of the car, and I get a phone call. It was a California number, and it was a recruiter from an insurance company that I applied for like a few weeks prior, and they wasn't gonna hire me. And so I answered the call, and he was like, surprise, I bet you thought you never hear my voice again. And I was like, yeah. And he told me, he was like, I was in a meeting, and your name came up in the meeting. And I think it was like the general manager was like, who, Kisha Moore? And the guy was like, yeah, like we didn't hire her because the hiring manager didn't want to hire her because she was living in Dallas, gave the whole scenario. And the general manager told another manager, I want you to get on the phone and call, because they knew me, because it's like the insurance industry is kind of big, but it's kind of small. Like everyone knows each other. Someone worked with you, with you from another job. So some type of affiliation. And so he told him, he was like, I want you to get on the phone call, on a call, and I want you to call Kisha Moore, and I want you to see what's going on with her. And so when the recruiter told me that, I was like, wow. And the recruiter told me, he was like, I've been doing this for 17 years. He was like, I've never experienced this. When a job says no, they never go back and look for the person that they interviewed and they didn't hire. So I was excited, and I knew that this was going to be an open door that God was going to provide for me. I knew it. It was nothing but the Lord, because what are the chances of my name coming up in a meeting and this person knows me and was like, Kisha Moore, get on the phone and call her. So I ended up going to the next round of the interviews for the insurance job. And the person that interviewed me, he knew me. He was like, yeah, you'll be fine. I went to the second round of the interview, and everything went good. And I ended up getting a job. And that job paid me 3 times the amount that I was making at the car dealership. It was specifically what I asked for. And here's my point. Because there are false prophets, pastors, whoever it is, manipulating scripture, trying to force people to give, saying God said this and God said that, I didn't stop honoring God with my income because of what man was doing, because I have a relationship with God. It's just me and the Lord, right? And I believe what the Lord said. He rebuked the devourer on my behalf, and he opened the door, and he gave me favor, and he provided for me. He gave me the means to, make more money. And so my point was, I forgot what I was going to say. So yeah, I ended up getting a job, making 3 times the amount of money. And what I didn't do when I wasn't sure about how I was going to pay my bills, I didn't take my rent money after I took out my tithe. So you have to use wisdom, right? I took out the 10% in the offering, I set that aside. And what I had left, I didn't take that money and go and sow it into the man of God's life because I needed a breakthrough. I didn't go sow it into the prophet's life because I needed a financial breakthrough and they're blessed and God blesses them and I want what they have. Like, I didn't do that. Like, I used practical wisdom. Pay your bills. Pay your bills. Use wisdom. Don't take all that you have and give it to someone and then you don't have enough money to pay your bills and they're living it up with your money. I'm not against a man of God, a prophet who are truly of God, having nice things, having nice cars. I am not against that at all. I am not against anyone giving to their man of God on their birthday, honoring them on their anniversary. I'm not against any of that. What I am saying is I am against manipulation. I am against those who are taking advantage of people for selfish gain. But even within that, I do not let that detour me from giving to God, from letting God basically honoring God with my 10% and letting him bless the 90%. I still do it to this day. I still do it, and I still practice the principles of tithing and giving. I know some people do it or believe in it. I know other people don't, some don't. Some people say it was for the Old Testament. I am simply giving my testimony of what I practice and how I saw God move in my life without being manipulated. So I hope this encouraged you, inspired you. Again, you have a relationship with God yourself. I mean, you can take heed to what I said or what I didn't say, but just pray about whatever it is you need, whatever it is you want, your income, your job. Just pray and seek the Lord. Don't let people make you feel bad because you don't have a certain amount to give. Even if you are a child of God and you understand the principle of tithing and you haven't been doing it, don't feel condemned. Just pray and ask God, like, God, help me in this area. Like, this is when I'm weak. When I have it, I give. When I don't have, I don't. You have to start with where you are, because trust me, I wasn't always that way. I wasn't always a tither. I wasn't always giving. I wasn't always honoring God with my money. But when I saw that I consistently did it, God consistently rebuked the devourer on my behalf. Even when I personally have made bad decisions regarding my income, God supernaturally came through. Another quick testimony. I purchased a home. I purchased a home based upon what I could afford at that time, right? So after I purchased the home, soon as I purchased the home, my income decreased like 30% annually. And so I'm now in this house and I just got it and my income decreased. I didn't complain. I didn't stop tithing. I continued to give to the Lord. I tithe, gave. I did what the Lord told me to do. And sometimes he would tell me to give a financial blessing to somebody else who didn't have, and I would do that. Again, that's the relationship I have with God. And God blessed me. I was able to pay my mortgage. I never had to ask or beg money from anyone. I never had to borrow. I never had to do anything. I still took vacations. When I look back on that year when my income decreased, but God rebuked still the devourer on my behalf because I still had everything I need. It was so supernatural because the math was not mathing. It wasn't adding up. I was like, how did I get through that year? But I got through because God provided. So I hope this testimony encouraged you. Stay blessed. Stay positive. Till next time. Bye.